Hi, I'm Kaz. I'm one half of Crafty Caravanners. Today, Pete is behind the camera. Welcome to the second in a mini-series of 3 videos that we're doing about beachcombing for beginners. In today's video, we're going to tell you what you can expect to find on a beach near you and how to identify it. Later on in the video, find out how to enter our prize giveaway, a book on mudlarking. So when you're away on your holidays, in your caravan, motorhome, or you've just taken a day trip to the beach, you're walking along and you're focusing on the view in front of you, to the sea, to the cliffs, but you are walking over hidden treasures that are right under your nose. There are pebbles, rocks and shells on the beach, as well as bits of history. So hopefully after watching today's video, when you next take a trip to the beach, instead of being focused completely on looking ahead, you're going to be looking down. Beaches hold lots of treasures to be found. There's pebbles, rocks, fossils. Here we have a small selection. I've picked these rocks here to show you because you'll notice that they all have a white band running through them. Now if the band goes all the way round and all the way through, then these are known as wishing stones. So those are wishing stones. These here are what we call hagstones. And a hagstone is a stone that has a hole going all the way through, so you can see right through it. So you can see this stone has one hole that goes all the way through and a second hole which hasn't made it all the way through. But because there's the one that goes all the way through, that is definitely a hagstone. And here we have a selection of fossils. You can see the shell indentations. This one here even looks like a shell, but it's not. It's totally made out of rock. And then we have 2 larger ones here at the back with the grooves in them. So rocks are interesting to pick up whilst you're on the beach. Here's a small collection of some of my shells that I found. We have some common cockles, some limpets, these lovely auger shells, long pointed cone ones in a spiral. Here we have some common mussels, and on this one you'll notice that some barnacles have made their home actually on the mussel shell. A teeny little scallop shell there, so tiny, but I think it's so cute. And then these here are called grey top shells. They've almost got a mother of pearl pearlescent sheen to them. Very pretty. This here is an oyster shell. I know it's a very strange colour, but it is a remains of an oyster shell. These are some sand gappers, and I think these are some kind of whelk. I don't profess to know all the shells. I am going to be getting a book because I am interested about all the different things that we can find on the seashore. So that's another little gem that our beaches have in store for us. You don't even need to leave the comfort of your own home. We live in a particularly old house. It's definitely more than 100 years old, and whilst I was out weeding a slim border, I found all these pieces. Now, before I learnt about beachcombing and mudlarking, I would have paid no attention to them, but in fact we have some interesting finds here. We have some ridge pottery, so this would have belonged to a vintage jam pot or a marmalade jar. We'll tell you more about Ridge pottery later on in the video. Here we have a tiny porcelain face off of a doll. The colours are just so clear. You can see the bright pink of her lips, the blue of her eyes, the blush on her cheeks, the eyebrow. The detail is amazing. I love this little piece. We even found some pieces of clay pipe. This is the heel of a clay pipe, which would have just started to attach to the bowl. This is a stem off of another piece of clay pipe. And a third tiny little section of stem on a clay pipe. Who would have thought I'd have ever even found a piece of clay pipe in my own back garden? As you can see, there's lots of blue and white, lots of willow pattern. There's a few other pieces mixed in as well, some pretty pink pieces, some slightly more modern, I would say, these, because they have gilding on them. And then we have bits of dough bowl. I think that's the ridge of a dough bowl. Also found a piece of milk glass. Here we have the jawbone and teeth of a small mammal. This here is a piece of flint. Doesn't look like it's been worked, but still. Identifying things and see what they look like. Other than the dig in our back garden, all of our mudlarking, beachcombing, has been done on beaches in the UK. We only got into beachcombing just slightly prior to lockdown, so we haven't had many trips out. But as I said, everything that we found has been found on a beach. So what can you expect to find on your local beach? You may find yourself some ridge pottery. This is a Victorian jam jar or marmalade jar. Here we have a porcelain arm for a Victorian doll. And you can see the little joint there where it would have attached to the body of the doll. A nice sweet little find. Every beachcomber or mudlarker's dream: pipe, clay pipe. This is all bits of clay pipe stem. Here we have the heel of a clay pipe, and you'll see that it's got a maker's mark on there. Now for me, this is the fun part about beachcombing and mudlarking. If it's got a maker's name, you can start tracing it back and you can work out the history. For me, knowing that no one's touched this pipe for probably 100 years at least is just an amazing thing. You know, pipes back then were a disposable item. It was smoked once and then tossed away. This pipe bowl here, this is my only pipe bowl find that I have found. You can tell from the shape and the size what era this comes from, and we do this by using a clay pipe guide. We have some pieces of pipe bowl here, not complete unfortunately, but I think that from the size of this one, it's rather small. It would have been old. Tobacco back in the day, when it was first introduced to England or the United Kingdom, was very expensive. So they only made pipes with small bowls because you couldn't afford to fill it with tobacco. This here is a replica of something called a church warden's pipe. You'll see it has a very long pipe stem, and on the end here you'll see it's covered in red. This would have been wax, and this would have stopped the pipe sticking to the smoker's lips. Also, we have clay marbles. Just like children today play with glass marbles, back in the days, in the Victorian days, children would play with clay marbles. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that we're going to be doing a prize giveaway, and this is going to be a book on mudlarking. This is based on the River Thames. The River Thames is an amazing place to be able to go mudlarking. We haven't been there. You do need a permit and there is a long waiting list. One day we will get there, however. And this book will show you things that you can find on the River Thames, and it will take you back in time. You'll actually feel like you've moved back in history, and you can learn about all the different things that you can find, including those wonderful clay pipes. To be in with a chance of winning this prize, all you need to do is leave a comment on this video. Please make sure that you leave the phrase #bookgiveaway, and that'll help us pick out all the people that want to be entered into this draw. We will announce the winner in our final video of this trio, which is due out on the 1st of April. Don't worry, it'll be after 12 o'clock, so it won't be an April Fool's. Another thing that you'll find on the beach is glass. Sea glass, or if you find it in a river, then it's called river glass. We haven't been to any rivers, so this is all sea glass. As I said, we've not been beachcombing / mudlarking very long, so my collection's not particularly large, but what I do have I will show to you and explain some of the features about them. So here we have just white sea glass, nicely frosted, nicely rounded off at the edges, and I like to use them for making jewellery. You'll get green sea glass, white sea glass. If you're really lucky, you'll find some pink or violet. There's also blue, brown, amber, yellow. Those are the kind of most popular colours. And sometimes you can find something called a multi, and that's where there's two different colour pieces of glass together in one. I have an example here. This is a piece of cranberry glass. Again, vintage glassware. If you look up cranberry glass, I'll show you an example of an item made of cranberry glass. This is where this has come from. But people who like collecting glass, sea glass, we get quite excited when we find something called a multi. So that's my one and only multi, that I'm very proud of. When you find larger chunks of glass, a good way to tell if they're older is by their thickness and by holding them up to the light and looking at the quality of the glass. So for example, this piece of glass here, you can see there's a bubble. That there is a bubble. If glass has bubbles in it, then it's a pretty good indication that it's older glass. And as you can see from the thickness as well, that's quite a chunky piece of glass. So that's an older piece of glass. This here is from something that I think is called a cod bottle. I'll show you a picture now of a cod bottle. It would go in at the neck, at the shoulder, and it would hold a glass marble in place to keep the contents inside. And I really do think that this is a piece of cod bottle. Never found a whole one, unfortunately. Here we have another thick piece of glass, and you can see the word, I think it probably said at least drink, if not drinks, on it. Another thick old piece of glass. Can't make out, there's not enough writing to establish what that said. There's definitely an M on there, and then some kind of serial number down the bottom here, N56 maybe. That's the bottom of a bottle. Again, you can see can see it there, but there's a bubble in the glass there. And it's a thick old piece of glass. Quite often find bits of safety glass with the metal in the middle. This here I think is a piece of privacy glass, but again I think it's quite old, it's quite thick. It's got the knobbly texture that kind of gives it a frosting that you wouldn't be able to see through properly. Now here we have a neck of a bottle. Again, it's quite an old bottle. It's a rather large neck, rather big top. So I think this might have been a very old milk bottle or orange juice bottle. I could be wrong. And here we have another really old bottle, a bottle neck, part of the neck there, a nice piece of green glass. But you can see what is called here as an applied lip. So the neck of the bottle was made, and then this lip here was applied afterwards. You can see there where it was added on. It's all wonky, and I quite like wonky actually. But yeah, that's an applied lip. These items here are called Vulcanite bottle stoppers. Back in the First World War, bottles had internal threads, and then the Vulcanite bottle stopper would be used to keep the liquid contained within the bottle. When you find these bottle stoppers, I like it when they have information on them. It's very rare that you'll find a bottle with the stopper in. Not impossible. If you go to a bottle dump, you're more likely to find that, but just on the beach, you'll probably just find the Vulcanite bottle stopper on its own. And I like being able to do the research then of, you know, who Hancock with Williscombe 1914 were, their history, etc. You'll see that this stopper here just has dots on top. Now, when we moved towards the Second World War, they made something called a war grade vulcanite bottle stopper, and this section here was dug out, so there was a big dip in the middle, and that's because they needed the rubber for more important things for the war effort. So if you find one that's got a groove taken out of it, then you know that that's a slightly younger version of a vulcanite bottle stopper. Here's a selection of the top items that we'd like to find on our travels. This is our bucket list. A torpedo bottle, named so because of the shape. The bottle needed to be stored on its side so that the cork could be wet. Cod marbles. These are found inside cod bottles. Quite often cod bottles will be found smashed because children wanted to take the cod marbles out to play with them. Glass bottle stoppers. These are quite simple examples, but there are more ornate ones out there to be found. Poison bottles. They usually come in green, blue and brown. You'll see from these pictures that they have ridges on them, and that was so that in the olden days, when you had no electricity in the middle of the night, if you got up to get something from the shelf, you could tell from the feel of the ridges that the bottle contained poison. Victorian foot warmers, today known as a hot water bottle. We hope you've enjoyed today's video and encouraged you to take a look at what's underfoot when you're next walking along the beach. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment, and don't forget to be entered into the prize giveaway. Leave a comment and make sure you use the phrase #bookgiveaway. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to know when our next video is out. That's all for now. With the current restrictions being relaxed, we hope you take an opportunity to go out to your local seashore, and don't forget to let us know what you find. Bye for now.